Okay, Islamism and Islam. This is a follow-on video to supplement what I've suggested before and should be understood accordingly. Let us remind ourselves of the strategic objectives of Islamism in the context of the Muslim community in the UK, as seen historically and globally, ever present now, of course, in the West, in UK, in Europe, Canada and Australia. To reiterate what I've said before, Islamism is practiced by approximately 10 to 15% of the Muslim community in the UK, and this does not apply, therefore, to a majority of the Muslims in the UK, and I'll keep reiterating this point. Muslims make up about 6% of the UK's population. The median age, the average age within this community is 24 years old. Very important, as almost 45% of the population, the Muslim population, are children. Pakistanis make up about 38% of the Muslim population, followed by Bangladeshis, Indians and African Muslims, each of them making up about an additional 10%. Pakistanis, Bangladeshis and Indians principally, in particular, have developed large unintegrated communities in many of our cities and towns, and this presents a problem. It becomes a breeding ground for radicalization of children in particular, and a polarizing of that community, encouraging racism and extremism, and indeed where grooming gangs culture festers. A majority of the population live in fear and control of the Islamism element. Outside of this, a vast majority of Muslims enjoy and cherish the freedoms that they have in the UK. They affectionately refer to themselves as coconuts, brown on the outside, white on the inside. They want to be free of intimidation of Islamism whilst practicing their faith. They want to be British Muslims. Indeed, most of them are. The Islamism element and the focus of this video includes the following. First of all, politicians, not all, at government, municipality and local level, who push the Islamism agenda politically. The muftis and the imams, again, not all, who run the mosques, community centres and even schools, respected and feared by the community, but who radicalise and indoctrinate their own to generate hatred. The extremists themselves, radicalised soldiers if you like, including illegal immigrants or growing illegal immigrant population, who will implement violence and intimidation in the name of Islam. Mostly men, but includes teenagers, the youth and the middle-aged generation. 75% of the MI5 terror list or terror watch list are Muslim extremists. And then there's the establishment, and I include schools in here as well. And these are people who are encouraged to integrate within the establishment to support and protect the Muslim agenda. Obviously, they can utilise DEI at the moment in order to be able to get into preferential spots, and this is across the establishment. Most of those people are doing it innocently, but by default, they are protecting, in some cases, the Islamism agenda. And of course, in some cases, that can have catastrophic consequences, as we are seeing at the moment with the grooming gang scandal. So the remaining elements of those communities exist under the control of these leaders and these soldiers. Most live in fear and will support these activities. Children are exposed to radicalisation unopposed, and women remain subservient to men. Many women and children are victims of sexual abuse by their own families, but they will never speak out and we will never hear about it unless we do something about it. The fundamental objective of Islamism is to establish an Islamic state with Islamic rule. This includes the extermination and or subjugation of the Jewish community and other non-Muslim infidels, Christianity, anything else that's non-Muslim. The subjugation of women, the illegitimization of the LGBTQ community, for example. They will always align themselves to the left of politics. Whenever they come into a country, they always go to the left of politics. They will not approach the right. And they will exploit liberalism, multiculturalism and anti-racism for protection and support, which will enable them to operate. And you can take any example across the world of countries, and the same pattern happens globally. Islamist strategy is based on three main strands, and I've mentioned this before, but and again, for simplicity, I've called it the three Bs: the ballot, birth, and the bullet. In the UK, the three Bs manifest themselves in the following way. So the ballot, again, over an extended period of time, they will infiltrate into politics at government level, municipality level, and local level, getting themselves into a position where they can influence decisions for the benefit of the Muslim communities. Muslim political leaders' priority, generally speaking, is Islam and the Muslim population, not the constituency or municipality that they are representing. At the same time, they will polarize into unintegrated communities, demand the establishment of mosques led by muftis and imams to be able to control and radicalize their communities. Be under no illusion that Islam is a religion of fear and is strictly hierarchical in this sense. Birth. So Muslim families are encouraged to give birth within their own communities, hence the high proportion of cousin marriages. And they're encouraged to give birth as much as possible, thereby providing a rapidly growing population base for the future. The average birth rate within the Muslim community is 5.1 children per family, in comparison to 1.4 children per family for white British families. So you can see the difference. Alongside this, and at the same time, is rapid immigration, both legally and illegally. And again, we're seeing this in the UK to its extreme. And actually over 80% of illegal immigrants at the moment into the UK are Muslim. And the last B is the bullet. This is all terror-based. To kill, injure, rape, ethnically cleanse society, striking fear into communities, knowing that they will be protected by the left and the establishment, and then be able to fly the racist card or multicultural card or equality card as a defence. The targets are not just Jewish communities, they include all non-Muslim parts of society. Grooming gangs and sexual attacks on the indigenous population are a part of this, and the idea being to convert and to procreate. So what's the point? Firstly, that Islamism, supplemented by illegal immigration of Muslims, is exponentially the greatest threat to the safety and security of British people, and actually to the country. Islamic terror attacks constitute over 80% of all terror attacks in the UK. Grooming gangs culture and its cover-up and protection by the establishment has resulted in over 250,000 white British girls being raped or tortured in the last 30 years. I believe every effort now needs to be made to support the Muslim communities and drive a wedge between the Islamist element and the remainder of the Muslim community. Indeed, the wider Muslim population needs to be embraced by the British community under the envelope of British values and British law. The Muslim community needs to accept the fact that they can practice their faith, but that any part of that contravenes British law and British values is not permitted. And I believe that this will be embraced by a majority of the Muslim community. It's what they want. Particularly if at the same time the Islamism or the Islamist elements are removed from communities and society. Political heads, Muslim communities, and the British intelligence and security services need to work in partnership to oust Islamism. Perpetrators guilty of terror-related crime, including radicalisation, violence, sexual abuse, terror attacks, intimidation, plus those purposefully who cover up and protect perpetrators, should be deported. Imprisonment in the UK is not a deterrent. Indeed, it further radicalises Islamists as martyrs, as well as putting an increasing burden on the British taxpayer. It costs the taxpayer at the moment over £50,000 a year to detain one criminal in our prisons. And it's also putting our prison staff and police at a much greater risk. The Muslim community need to be appraised of the fact that the current government if allowed to implement the objectives that they want, will drop Islam like a stone, as its objectives are totally incompatible with those of the government. And this is irrespective of we're talking about the Islamism element, if we're talking about the oppressed communities, or we're talking about the coconut community. I think it's important now to drive that wedge between the government and the Muslim community. The political parties, both right and left, should demonstrate their intent to achieve the above and articulate a plan to achieve this. It will transfer the Muslim vote, particularly if action against Islamism is swift and decisive. I've spent half my working life with Muslims, both as a soldier and as a civilian. My best friend is a Pakistani Muslim. I've seen the very best and the very worst of them. The best of them are loyal, patriotic, and what I consider a vibrant enhancement to the United Kingdom. The bad apples need to be eradicated. It's not even a debate. The killings, rapes, attacks on British women, children and men must stop. The radicalisation of Muslim children must stop. The subjugation and abuse of Muslim women must stop. Islamification, in short, needs to be stopped in its tracks. Again, I'd be grateful for your comments and criticisms, particularly those from the Muslim community and also from the left.